Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I got a treat for you. We're going to be talking artificial intelligence as I am joined by best-selling author, celebrity ghostwriter, and artificial intelligence expert, Jonathan Green. Jonathan specializes in helping businesses and entrepreneurs excel and grow their businesses by using AI. So we're going to be talking to him all about that. And he also has a ChatGPT book along with hundreds of other books. So Jonathan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for giving me some time and spending some time with me.
Well, why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've been a full-time entrepreneur for 13 years now. I started when I got fired from what I thought was my dream job. And I realized that when we work for someone else, they have way too much power over us. Because when you lose your job, you don't just lose your job, you lose all your power, because now you can't pay your bills. You can't pay for the doctor. You can't pay for your kids to go to school. You can't pay for your groceries. So it can be devastating. And a lot more people have learned that lesson over the last few years, that when it's you or your boss always going to choose themselves. So that really began my journey, saying, I don't want to be in a position where anyone can ever fire me and hurt my family that much again. That's where it all started. So from then, I just began trying a lot of different ideas. I wish the first idea worked, but it never does. I've just done a lot of things along the way. And then in the last few years, I've really focused on artificial intelligence, because I wish it had been around when I started, because it would have been so much easier. Like all the things that I had to spend months learning how to do, now you can learn in a few hours using artificial intelligence. So the learning curve has really gotten a lot shorter. And so the barrier to entry has kind of disappeared from this market. So there's a huge opportunity for people that are just getting started out that don't have to go through all the hard things that I did to get started.
Well, before we jump into the AI aspect, you are also a celebrity ghostwriter. You want to explain to listeners what that is and maybe why you are a celebrity ghostwriter?
Sure. I'm a big believer in risk management. So anytime I write my own book, I don't make money for a long time, right? I don't make money until someone actually buys it. But when I get hired by someone else to write their book, I make money before I do anything. I make money at the start. I get paid on the very first day. So you always want to have a mix of fast money and slow money projects. Usually fast money, you make less money, right? But you make it right away. So that's the trade-off. Sometimes a client will approach me and say, hey, what if you just get paid out of the back end sales? And I always say, no, I already deal with my own stuff, right? I don't want to have too many projects that are all get paid down the line. So I just found through writing my own books, other people said, hey, can you write a book for me? And it kind of grew from there to where I not only take 3 or 4 projects a year writing for clients, but I love doing it because I love helping people to tell their story. I always enjoy it. I'm always proud of the book at the end. I have a good experience. So it's something that falls just naturally to me. I tried a lot of things along the way, doing other types of services, and I've just found that that's the one that I always come back to. So I do love writing, and mostly it just came about because I'm very good at it. And when you have that confidence and you tell everyone, then if someone says, hey, do you know a ghostwriter? I'm the only ghostwriter they know. So it's very easy to get referrals. And that's really enough to keep that business going. It's not the only thing I do, but it really is my fast money thing. So whenever I need fast money, I'll just reach out to everyone and say, hey, do you know someone who's looking for someone to work with right now? And I can make money quickly to fill in those gaps, because sometimes, any business, you can have a slow month.
That is absolutely right. So explain to the listeners who might not know what artificial intelligence is and why you say that every entrepreneur should start using AI tools.
Sure. Artificial intelligence really means where the machine starts to think. So most of the time when I grew up and I went to my first computer class, the first thing I learned was garbage in, garbage out. That if you ask the wrong question or give it the wrong data, you get the wrong answer and get that data back out. And that's been the rule until this year. The beauty of artificial intelligence is that it will tell you, oh, that's the wrong data. And it will kind of nudge you or guide you in the right direction, or that you can be close, but not quite right. And it will figure it out. So it allows you to get a little bit more freedom with your inaccuracies, right? So it used to be, the old saying is like close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Now it counts with computer stuff too. It used to have to be perfect in what you wrote or what you did. For example, if I misspell a word, an AI will figure out what I meant. Whereas tools before this year wouldn't, and that misspelling would end up in the final book or in the final product. It would never get fixed unless I fixed it myself. So things as small as that can propagate, right? Well, if a book has enough misspellings in it, it gets a bunch of bad reviews and it can kill the book, even if the book is good. So these small things that make a big difference. And now AIs are getting smarter and can do more things and can kind of automate tasks. Because you can kind of say, this is what I want, right? I can say to an AI, I say, hey, I want to write a tweet about this blog post. And it will give me some tweets to choose from that are all written in the style of past tweets that I've done and have emojis in them. So I don't have to learn how to use emojis because I don't know them. I'm not very good at emojis. That's the generation after me. So those little things allow me to be a little bit faster. So it's really a tool that accelerates you and allows you to be more inaccurate, has more room for error, which means that you're more likely to get the result you want because you can describe the result without being exacting, right? Whereas before you used to have to say, I want 500 words, right? If I was paying someone to write an article for me, I'd say, I want it to be this many words, this many keywords, and you have to give them all these really specific instructions. Now, with an AI tool, you don't have to be as specific anymore. It can kind of figure out what you mean, and it just allows you to get a good result without spending hours and hours becoming a master of explaining what you want.
So tell us the biggest mistake that people make with ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's treating it poorly. So if you just give it commands, you can reactivate the garbage out, garbage in. So if you just say, do this, do that, do this, do that, ChatGPT is designed to never tell you that you're wrong. It's never going to tell you you're wrong. It's never going to tell you that you're mean. It's never going to do any of those things where instead it will just give you bad results because it's trained that way. So the real secret is to, instead of starting with a command, to always start with a question. Hey, ChatGPT, I want to create show notes for my podcast episode. What information do you need? What resources do you need from me to do that? As soon as you do that, you switch it to interrogative mode, which is where it will ask you questions and tell you it needs more information until it has enough information to give you the result that you want. That will immediately change everything around. We're just trained from watching all these television shows where people shout at AIs and kind of belittle them. And listen, I know it's not a real person. I know you're not going to hurt its feelings, but I also know that it's designed to mimic a person. So you have to take into account the way it's trained, the way it's designed. It thinks one answer at a time. So if you ask a question, it will give you an answer because it doesn't think you'll ask a follow-up question. It never expects a second question or a chance to clarify itself or a chance to do anything else unless you say that specifically, right? If you say, hey, what information do you need? Then it expects another response, and that allows it to guide you. So it switches from you having to be a master prompt engineer, right, to know the exact, because there are secret ways to prompt, and I have very, very sophisticated prompts that I use. It bypasses the need to learn all that stuff that I learned because now you can just get right to it designs or acts as though you'd written a brilliant prompt just by switching it into this mode. So that's the most important thing, is to get out of this giving it commands, treating it like a robot, and instead really leveraging, and it's even in the name, right? Chat GPT. The chat part means just chat with it. They don't explain that very well, and people often miss that. So that's the biggest mistake people make, is it they give it a command or they just ask without any context, and then they hit a wall. For example, the odds that you and I, if I said, write down your favorite 10 musicians, what are the odds that you and I have the same top 10, right? So unlikely, because we're two different people. So if I say, write me a song, sure, ChatGPT will write me a song. What are the odds that it's going to be in the genre I like, right? If one person likes country and another person likes hip hop and another person likes pop, well, they might all get the same country song, but only one of them will like it. So without providing context, right? What you really want to say is, if you say, what information do I need? It will start to say things like, what's your favorite genre? So it changes everything. And it says, okay, is there any symbolism you want or any ideas you want? And it will start to ask these really important questions, right? Is this a song about a breakup? Is this a song about falling in love? Is this a song about your friends? Right? There's so many topics. And you can actually get a really much closer to what you want song once you give it a genre. So you have to give it that context, and you don't know that. Instead of knowing what information it needs, right? Instead of going, oh, I have to know what genre it wants, I have to know what symbolism it wants, I have to know the name of the band, it has to know what kind of what times we use. Do we use 4/3 or 4/4? What instruments does the band have? Instead of all of that, right? Remembering what to say, if you just let it ask you, then it will remember what it needs to ask you, and you don't have to remember all that stuff. So that's why switching to this is what I want, and then asking what information do you need to get me the result that I want will get you much, much closer to what you want. And it bypasses the garbage in, garbage out mistake that a lot of people make by commanding.
Well, give us some tips on what we could do to use ChatGPT to save one day a week. We all would like to do that.
So for that process, I always look at what do I do every week that's repetitive? What do I do whenever I'm talking to someone? That's the first thing I say. I say, what do you do a lot every week that you're not really paying that much attention, or it's always the same thing? For some people, it's answering emails. For other people, it's scheduling social media. For someone else who is editing a lot of videos, there might be a really repetitive task, right? Every time I edit a video, I have to do this rendering process or something like that. So I look at, well, what's a way we can create an automation? It's not always, sometimes it's an AI plus an automation. So for example, whenever I download an image, I automatically have to run it through like a compressor, right? Because it's a file that reduces the image size and takes away the excess data. Because when I upload that image, or when I store the image on my computer, I want it to be as efficient as possible because it just takes up too much space. Instead of manually picking up that image and dropping it into a box every time, I have an automation that automatically moves it into a folder. Anything in that folder gets compressed, right? It activates those two softwares. And I can do that online with an automation. So an example of an automation with an AI is that whenever someone leaves a comment on one of my videos on YouTube, I'll get a notification through an automation tool that then send that comment to ChatGPT. And I say, hey, can you write a response to this? And ChatGPT would write a response, and then the automation tool will then post it. So I automatically reply to every comment I get on my YouTube videos without me having to go back in and do it, because, we get a lot of comments, and it can, if you're not paying attention, you might not see a comment for 3 days or something. So at least they get something really positive. And if someone writes a mean comment, which we all get, right? Sometimes they write something really mean. Well, the AI's feelings never get hurt. So it goes, oh, I'm so sorry you felt that way. We're really trying to create the best content possible. Hopefully the next video gives you more of what you want. I would never write that myself, right? I would get pulled into like, hey, how dare you write that? I work really hard. You know what I mean? We respond emotionally. So it bypasses that. For something even on a smaller scale, it might be, okay, every single week I have to sort through all of these files looking for something, right? And you say, well, what's a faster way to do it? And I can upload all the files to the AI and say, hey, find something that meets these 3 criteria. Saves you a huge amount of time. Or every time after I create a podcast, I have to make a show notes. Well, now I can just upload the episode to the AI and say, hey, make show notes that are like my last show notes. And instead of it taking me 2 hours, re-listen to the episode, all that stuff, it just does it for me. So those are some really basic things. And it can be as advanced as I can feed a video into an AI that will then choose the social media clips and post them for me and write the description and hashtags using an AI. So it saves a massive amount of time. So there's a really big spectrum of what tools can do and how much you have to be involved or not involved. And they're becoming more and more automated, where you kind of set up the machine the way you want, and then it does everything that you want it to do for you. So I have an automation that whenever someone I like posts a video on YouTube, it notifies my automation software, and my automation software sends that video to ChatGPT, says, ChatGPT, write a tweet about this. And then I send that video to my link shortener and I get a short link. And so now I have a tweet with a link, and it then posts that tweet to Twitter for me. So I'm always putting content on my feed from the people that I like. So it's a way to put more content out there, and it's completely automated. I don't have to do anything.
So how can we use AI to make passive income? I'm going to be really listening to this answer.
So there's really 2 big components to making money online. The first component is traffic, right? Like if you have a store and 1 million people walk into the store doesn't have to be that good. Someone's going to buy something, right? So you need a lot of traffic, and AI can help you with that, whether it's creating social media content, writing blog posts, launching a podcast, getting on podcasts. So all the stuff where you're putting content out there to get more and more people's attention, that's the first step. That's how you get on a lot of radars, and it will really help you with that part of the process. The second part of the process, right, after getting traffic is conversion, which is generating the sale. So with AI, you can create the product, whether you're creating a t-shirt, it's a print on demand t-shirt, or you're creating a course, or you have a coaching program that you're designing. AI can help you design any of those things. I use it for all of those parts. So it can help you with the delivery. And it can also help you with writing of the sales page. AI wrote my book description for ChatGPT Profits with all the HTML in there. So underlines, highlights, different words, all of that. I didn't do that. The AI did it with me. Did the heavy lifting. In the same way, I can have it write a sales page or sales emails. So all of the different parts of a passive income business, AI can really help you with. Now, it doesn't do it for you. You have to do it together because you have to read it to make sure the headline makes sense. I'm always modifying. So I was writing a new landing page last night for a giveaway, and it gave me a headline. I go, I'm going to change 2 words in this. So I'm still involved in the process, but I'm choosing which headline I like the most, and then I'm making the headline better. That's really the kind of thing that lets life be faster, right? Because if you have to write 50 emails, it's really hard to come up with 50 different ideas and to stay motivated. The first email is going to be way better than email 50, at least for me. But with an AI, I can speed up the process a little bit and say, hey, give me 50 different ideas for emails, and then I'll build each one out into an email. When you work like that, you're going to get a much, much better result. So it kind of has that consistency. It helps you to stay consistent when your motivation starts to drop off as well. So all the different parts of the creation process and AI can be involved in, and it just kind of lets you be faster, helps you stay efficient, and keeps you from dropping off your motivation. So for me, passive income is really about generating the traffic and then turning the traffic into sales. And then the delivery AI helps with as well.
Well, you mentioned giveaways. I know you went from selling to giving away books to increase your revenue. So kind of tell people about that process and why you decided to do it that way.
So I realized a couple of years ago, I was spending a lot of money per month on ads. I was paying a lot for Amazon ads, and I was looking at what I'm spending and what I'm making. And I realized my advertising cost per book sale was the same as my royalty. So when I sell a book on Amazon, I don't make any money. It's break even because I have to pay for ads to generate that sale. And I said, you know what? If I'm not going to make any money, right, I might as well get more people on board. So I do a lot of cross promotions and giveaways with other authors. So I'll give my books to your customers. You give your book to mine, and we'll just kind of swap followers, right? And what happens is my worst followers who are kind of bored of me get introduced to someone new, and they go, this is the right fit for me, and vice versa. So I trade my worst followers for good followers. And the same thing happens to the other person. Someone who's tired of me is now excited by the other person. Someone's tired of them is excited by me, and it kind of reinvigorates our audiences. So it's a win-win. And by switching, instead of thinking of authors as my competition, I started to think of them as people I can do cooperative ventures with. And it just really opened the door to some massive success and growth for my audience size and for my revenue, because once I stopped thinking of every author as my enemy and started thinking of as, these are people I cooperate with. How can I do something that's a win for both of us? It just brought a lot more people into my circle, and it allowed me to just get much, much, much better results. So it removed kind of this block that I'd had, and I wasn't making money anyway, so I might as well get more people. So I would rather have a larger audience. If I'm not going to make money either way, let's get the biggest audience possible from giving away my books.
Speaking of your books, tell us about that ChatGPT book. Tell us what we can expect when we read it.
Sure. ChatGPT Profits is the instruction manual that I wish had come with ChatGPT when I first started using it. There's no onboarding process. There's no welcome video. There's no practice project. There's no explanation of what it can do. It's just a blank page and a figure it out. Good luck. And that's a huge stressful learning curve. So through a lot of experimentation, watching a lot of videos, some of which I used, a lot that I didn't, and developing my own processes, I created the instruction manual that I wish had come with ChatGPT. Now, there are a lot of books about ChatGPT out there. What separates mine is that I don't have any theoretical prompts in there. It's all prompts I've actually used. So after using it for a few months, I just went back through everything I'd done, and anything that had worked and generated money, I added to the book, and any prompt that didn't work or didn't generate money, I didn't use. I only changed 2 or 3 prompts in the whole book to update them with the ChatGPT update. And I always tell you, I go, this is a new version of an old prompt that worked because there have been some updates. And I also provide the actual answers. So you can see what I said and what ChatGPT said back. So if you don't get the same response, you know something went off. It gives you that ability to error correct, which a lot of other books don't. A lot of other books just give you the prompt and you have to guess what's going to happen and you don't know if it's gone off the rails or not. So I didn't like that. I said, how can I know what's happening if I can only hear half the conversation, if I can see the instructions, but not what the expected result is? So if you're looking for a book that really shows you how to use a tool and allows you to see what response to expect, that's what I designed. It's really meant to be that missing instruction manual. You don't have to read it in order. You can jump around and to different sections and say, I just want to learn how to do this faster. I want to learn how to do this with social media, how to do this with video. So it is really designed into sections to first give you an idea of here's all the things that ChatGPT can do because you don't even know what its abilities are. And then it goes into here's how to do a bunch of those things specifically to make money. Here's how to write an article. Here's how to create a video description. So those specific, then it goes into the specific things that you would want to do.
So for those who might be listening to this and say, I want to try ChatGPT, kind of tell them where they can try it out and different ways and platforms they can try it out.
Yeah, the book is on every bookstore. It's an audiobook, paperback, hardback. It's on the Amazon bookstore, all the other ones. So you could just look for it, ChatGPT Profits by Jonathan Green. And if you want to just try out ChatGPT itself, it's free. Like there's no reason not to give it a real try and kick the tires. And that's openai.com. And if you want to learn more about what I do, you can go to servedmaster.com/AI. And everything I do about AI, all my different free gifts and giveaways and AI tools are all listed on a single page.
Okay, well, tell us about any current or upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to know about.
Yeah, so I've been building out this program called Cyber Staffing Agency, which is where I create custom personality prompts that are experts at different things. So I have a Twitter expert, I have a LinkedIn expert, I have SEO, different experts and research experts and a personal assistant. So it kind of activates a specialist mode within ChatGPT. They've recently released a new update, which actually allows me to just push all of my experts from my system into yours. So with one click of a button, you can activate my LinkedIn expert and it will say right away, she'll go, hi, my name is Linda. Here's what I'm good at. Here's the things I can do on LinkedIn. Here's the things I'm good at. Do you want to do some of these things? So instead of guessing, it will tell you exactly what it can do, what it's good at, what it's been kind of targeted towards, and it gives you a really refined result. Because the biggest problem with ChatGPT is actually too much data, right? So if it pulls in everything anyone's ever written on Twitter, well, a lot of it's bad, right? Most tweets no one reads. So if you narrow it down to the good stuff, you're going to get much, much better results. And that's what these tools do, is it allows you to work with an expert. So that's my cyber staffing agency program, which you can find at cyberstaffingagency.com. And I talk about a lot on my website as well. So that's the project I'm working on, is creating new prompts and new ways to push them to my audience to really remove any need to go through a training process with ChatGPT. It eliminates any learning curve at all because it does all the hard work for you.
Well, throw out your website again so listeners can keep up with everything that you're up to.
Sure. If you just type in serve no master into every search engine, every single result is me.
Perfect. So close us out with some final thoughts. Maybe if that was something I forgot to talk about that you would like to touch on, or just any final thoughts you have for the listeners.
Most important thing is to just try it. At first, it seems really intimidating. It's a blank page. I don't know what to do. AI is confusing. The cool thing about it is that because it will do the work for you, you can become a really proficient user in a single day. If you just sit down and say, today, the only thing I'm going to do is get good at ChatGPT or Claude or whichever AI you want, you can learn any AI in one day. Most software tools, like if you want to learn Photoshop, it's going to take you months or years to become a master, right? If you want to learn how to be really good at Word, there are so many features and functions hidden in the menus. It take you a long time. With ChatGPT, one day. So if you just say, you know what, I'm going to spend tomorrow learning one tool, by the end of the day tomorrow, you'll be a pretty good user. So most tools are not that easy. And that's the real game changer. So just get out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid of asking a dumb question or making a mistake because no one's going to see, and just go for it. And 24 hours from now, you can be a confident AI user.
Real quick before we go, Do you have any concerns about, for example, if you have AI to write a song or a book or something for you, not necessarily you, but anybody, once things catch up, because people like to sue for everything, do you think people would face lawsuits somehow if it wrote a song or something for them and it became a hit or something?
I think it depends which tool you use. If you're using ChatGPT, they have set up in their system that the lawsuit goes through them. So they pay all legal fees. They'll cover everything for anything that's accused of plagiarism or anything like that or stealing. They've got you covered for all the copyright stuff. So that goes through their system. So you don't even have to worry about that. I do think some things are going to happen. There's already some lawsuits flying around, but most people are going to sue the billion-dollar company rather than the person who wrote one song or one book or whatever. So I do think we're going through a period where we're reassessing what intellectual property actually is, what it means to own something, and how much of your ideas are your own. I think that that's what the Hollywood writer strike was about. I think that's what some comedians are suing AI tools, some actors are suing AI tools, and some writers are suing AI tools. And they're just trying to establish what is and is not your property. Now, I believe that, for example, you should own your own image. I don't know why a paparazzi can take a picture of you and then sell that picture. To me, that's crazy. I don't know why we decided that's okay. I don't think it should be. And that's the problem, is that if we allow that, then allowing an AI to then take those images that someone else took a picture of that you quote unquote don't own of yourself and then reuse those in a different way, well, then how can it go from something you don't own into something you do own? So I think that actually what we're seeing with AI is a bad law has led to more problems. So it's derivative of that. So I think we can go back to you own your own image. That would solve most of the problems that actors have, right? And then same thing for, I think, voice artists, because a lot of times they'll do someone who has a similar voice, right? Oh, you can't get the original person. So someone comes in and they can mimic that voice. There's people that can do tons of voices. So we have to decide what the rules are, right? So can I make a song that sounds exactly like someone? Well, what if I can do that without using an AI? Is that not allowed to? That's the tricky question. So the rule right now is if it's the intent is to deceive. So if I sing a song and I say I'm singing like Eminem, it's very different than if I'm saying Eminem sang the song. That's the difference. There's been a lot of AI Eminem songs. That's a huge difference. I do know that then what people worry about is like, well, what if all these songs just sound like me, make me look silly, and they damage my brand? They're worried about that kind of stuff. So I think it all is going to shake out. I don't think it's going to involve suing small creators. I think it's going to involve suing large companies. And I just think the government has to create laws, and we have to, as a society, determine what is and is not your property, right? So, I mean, I definitely, in some cases, I agree with the artist. I think that your face and your voice are your own. I don't think that those can just become public domain against your will. But I also think that, for example, if someone writes a book in my style, there's nothing I can do about that. It is what it is, right? That is the thing that a lot of writers are upset about. A lot of screenwriters are like, well, what if an AI can write a movie? It's like, well, yeah, then I guess your job is gone. Or I guess that's bad news, but that's the answer. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. So it's all going to shake out. It's definitely going to have to be something that gets handled on a societal level. We have to decide what's okay and what's not okay as people. And we're figuring that out. Like, do you have to say this is AI created or not? Like, maybe you have to just put a little icon in the corner of anything made by an AI so people know. And that becomes the process. Or maybe we choose something else. But I think that we have to choose as a culture what our rules are about what's acceptable and not acceptable. And then we have to create laws that kind of synchronize with that. I think that, but it's all derivative of bad copyright laws and bad kind of like identity laws. Like, if someone can use your picture, if someone can take a picture of you and then own that, if someone can record your voice and then they own that, that's a problem. So that's what has to shake out. So it's because they've made stupid decisions in the past that we're now seeing the results of those bad decisions with the advent of AI.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Google serve no master. Check out Jonathan's Chat GPT book and all of his other books as well. Please be sure to follow, rate, review, share this episode to as many people as possible. Check out an AI tool and see how it can make your life easier. If you have any guests or suggestion topics, cjackson102@cox.net is the place to send them. As always, thank you for listening. And Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your expertise.
Thank you for having me.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.